Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Karambu Ringera, the founder and president of 3G Foundation and International Peace Initiatives, organizations that work in Africa in particular and around the world to inspire people to step into their regeneration. Regeneration is about people taking charge of their lives and taking responsibility of their challenges. We work with women, men, youth, and children. We believe that everyone has what it takes to transform their own lives. Our calling is to stand with people as they listen to their inner knowing and bringing it forth to transform their circumstances. We say that regeneration is not a piling or a filling up of stuff in someone or into something. Rather, regeneration is about igniting a fire within so that one can be a light, can be a light for transforming the circumstances in their lives. We believe that everyone is a winner. We believe that everyone can, when they are given the right resources, everyone is able to meet their basic need. No one is hopeless or helpless. No one needs to be helped. When people are given the right tools and the right resources, they're able to transform their lives. Welcome. I come from Kenya, a place known as Meru, kind of in the central part of Kenya. And Kenya is on the eastern coast of Africa. And if you look at the eastern coastline of Africa, it actually looks like a face, the outline of a face. And Kenya is the eye. So I say Kenya is the eye of Africa. Africa is my sanctuary. That's where I love to do my Ubuntu. Ubuntu is an African philosophy that means I am because you are. Because you are, I am. I work with International Peace Initiatives and 3G Foundation. These two organizations work specifically in Africa, but also globally. We work with people and we partner with organizations that are looking for alternative ways of doing sustainability, development, education, and food sovereignty. When we are transforming any set of circumstances, we have to work with a new story mindset. What is my new story? Question. Reclaiming mind and heart sets through regeneration. When we have a new story, our mindset and heart set have to change. And how we change that is through regeneration. So that is what I'm going to talk about. Regeneration implies not merely an addition of certain graces or gifts, a strengthening of certain innate good qualities, but a radical change which revolutionizes our whole being, contradicts and overcomes our old fallen nature. A radical change. A radical change embedded in a radical faith in the good. That which I know, I do not have to see to know it is. My belief is that the premise of everything is good. I can choose to focus on the good, or I can choose to focus on that which is not good. I choose the good. And so this radical change is embedded on that mindset that everything I have been given or is meant for me is based on the intention of good. And a radical change that believes in this universe of goodness has plans for me, and these plans are of welfare and of good to give me a future with a hope. So I'm not hopeless, I'm not helpless. The foundation upon which I be is of good, of hope, of a good future. And that is what I step on as I move forward with my life. A radical change that believes that diseases like HIV and AIDS, the coronavirus, and various other incurable diseases that live amongst us, we still can live positively and fully with this. So my organization works with women living with HIV and AIDS, works with children who've been affected or infected by HIV and AIDS. We work with members of our community who've been affected by violence and poverty, and children also who've been affected by poverty and violence in their lives. And some of these circumstances might look like totally hopeless and make people feel helpless. I also have worked with nature. We've been given spaces that were given, but they really were wastelands. Like this piece of space that was the land we were given to build the children's home at Kithoka Amani Children's Home. And it really is a piece of rocky ground. And we worked with this space to transform it. And it became a lush, beautiful place like what you can see here. We've worked with women, widows, who, when their husbands died, were evicted from their matrimonial homes. And people were trying to demolish their homes so that they can leave because the relatives are interested in the land. We've worked with women who thought they were helpless and hopeless, and they've become business people through the skills training programs that we set up. We've worked with children from different backgrounds, and that is children who society might have thought there's nothing you can do with them, and they have become graduates. They've gone to school, they have excelled, and they've done great things with their lives. So what I'm going to share with you today is on the power to reclaim these unlikely spaces through regeneration. A radical change which revolutionizes our whole being, contradicts and overcomes our old fallen nature, our old beliefs, our old mindsets and heart sets, to remind us of our wholeness. Kithoka Amani Children's Home, KACH, K-A-C-H, is one of International Peace Initiative's programs. And it is through this program that we've raised and supported over 2,000 children to go to school and to transform their own lives. That is Newton, and this is the kind of home that he came from when we met him. This is him in 2013. He still can't take care of his nose, as you can see. This is him in 2015, a handsome young man. He's somewhere here with the blue jacket in 2017, and this is him last year. When Newton came to our program, even though he has a surviving father, his mother died giving birth to him, you can see he looks like a street kid, but he really wasn't a street kid. He just was living with an caring parent. But when he came to us, in traditional support systems, we say the best thing to do for a child is to take them to school. So Newton has two siblings, two sisters who are older than him. We paid school fees for them, but I realized that the older sister is the one who became the mother of Newton when the mother died. So she would carry him, and she and the dad would walk to the hospital to take him for his injections, or when he was sick, she's the one who would cook for them, wash him. And so even if we paid school fees for her, she had so many other chores to do that she wasn't doing very well in school. So I decided to take the two siblings to the children's home at KACH. And I said to the father, I'll leave you with the little boy. Now you have only one child to look after, and that should not be a burden. So a few months when I went to check on Newton, that is how I found him. Very unclean, just loitering in the village. And when the father showed up, he was just a drunken mess. So I realized that even if we paid school fees for a kid and we did not look at the context within which that child was living, we were not helping them. We were not supporting them adequately. So I realized that to be able to take care of a child like Newton, I had to think about his drunken parent, his siblings, the community within which he was living, the school that he was attending, and the church that he was going to, and also his playmates. This is a systems thinking framework where when we are supporting a child, you have to look at the context within which he is living. Otherwise, we'll say we'll pay school fees, and then when we come back a few months later, we find the kid is not in school because we didn't look at the context within which he was living. So, for example, for the sister, when the brother is sick, she won't go to school. If the father is drunken and is not at home to take care of the kid, she will not go to school. And then when she fails, we blame her. So I realized that we had to adopt a different approach in supporting needy children. so that we do not create what we call the blame the victim syndrome, where we give them half-baked interventions for their circumstances, and when they don't succeed, then we blame them. And so what I learned is to create a new story dialogue that works with the question, who am I? So this is my journey of questioning what I learned in school about development, that we help people, and that development is about an expert like myself coming to help people. And when I started questioning these systems, I started understanding that there's a way that systems have programmed us. Our education systems, patriarchy, the economic systems within which we operate, religion, all these systems have programmed us in certain ways. And we think we know who we are, but we're actually living someone else's story. That is why I call this a new story dialogue, because until I understand how those systems have programmed me and why I react or respond to life the way I do, I will live someone else's story. The education that we go through is someone's agenda to have us behave in certain ways so that we can serve their purpose. The religions that have been created by man, literally man, have been set up to serve an agenda for someone else. So unless I know who I am and understand how these systems have programmed me, conditioned me to think in certain ways, to be in certain ways, then I will always be a slave. I will be enslaved by someone else's ideology. And so my new story dialogue is about questioning systems. I can never create regenerative systems if I'm programmed to live someone else's story, because regeneration is about freeing me from someone else's agenda so that I can create my own lived experience, transformative interventions for the circumstances that I face every day. So the new story dialogue is about understanding who I am, what stops me, and the new story that I want to create, and who I wish to bring in as my ally to do that new story dance with. And I always look at, what am I learning? What am I unlearning? What do I need to relearn so that I can always become a better version of who I was yesterday? So let us look more closely at the new story dialogue diagram. At the top is the question, who am I? And this is about exploring who am I, not from who people say I am. My parents, my siblings, my friends say certain things about who I am. And there's who I say I am from what these people say I am. And there's who I am from what my creator created me to be. So who am I? To answer this question, who am I, is about peeling the layers of all these other namings and markings, and to really look within to understand who am I, when before all these markings and namings came to invade my consciousness. So when I peel all these layers of the naming from other people and the naming that you've given yourself from that naming from other people, when you peel all those layers and you go to the bottom where there's nothing more, what do you find there? So that's the place where you name yourself. And you will find, if you're really present within yourself to this endeavor to really know who you are, you will find that who you are is embedded in a value. I say, my name is Karambu, and who I am is not the things that I do. It's not the professor, it's not the founder of CAT, it's not the founder of IPI, it's not the things that I do. I am an aunt, I am a sister, I am so many things, I am a mother, but that's not who I am. Those are the things that I do. Who I am is love and light. And I had to do a lot of layer peeling to be able to understand that is who I am. And so when I know I am love and light, how do I live that? How does that manifest in every moment of my life? the new story dialogue is about really knowing who I am. And when I know who I am, I find my purpose and my calling. So the first question is, who am I? And that's a process of peeling the layers so that you can really find who you are, not from other people's markings and your own, but from who you really are meant to be. And once I know who I am, the next step is then looking at what stops me. And what stops me is embedded in the systems, the institutions, our culture, our religion, and all these things that society has created that says socializes us. It programs us. It conditions us to think in certain ways. These systems do this. But I want you to also understand that one of the most stoppers of oneself is you yourself, me. I'm a major stopper of who I'm meant to be in the world because of what I've chosen to believe about what I'm capable of doing. So when I know who I am, the next step is then understanding what stops me in these systems. And once I understand how they stop me, then I have to go to the next level of the new awareness that has been created will enable me to create my new story. Now that I know who I truly am and I know what stops me, what's my new story gonna be? So when you know your new story, then you have to figure out how you're going to live your life embedded or, like standing on this new story, knowing. And you have to look for like-minded people who will help you walk this walk. I call it dancing with life. How are you going to live your life moving forward? So what are your engaged actions? Who are going to be your allies? And when you choose activities and interventions that you're going to do within this realm of your new story, then you have to look at what is emerging, what is the emergent being in the interventions that you're creating, both in your life and in your engaged actions in the world. So the emergent being is like monitoring and evaluation. What am I producing? What am I birthing in this new way of being? And once you look at all those things, then the next level is, who am I becoming? The evolving presence. You never live the same way again. There's a presence within you now that informs who you're becoming. And when I have this conversation with myself, when I finish one program, these are the questions that I'm asking myself as I begin and work through that project. And when I finish it and I get to the evolving presence, reflecting on what I have created and what I'm becoming, then when I move to the next project, I have to look and see what I have learned, what I have had to unlearn, what I have relearned, and the growth that has taken place, and how that is going to push me forward as I step into my next project. So this is a cycle of new story creation and building. It's a spiral of regeneration. Always asking myself at every stage and every step, who am I? What stops me? What's my new story? What are my engaged actions? What are the emergent being? And what am I becoming? Who am I becoming? And so what has been the learning, unlearning, relearning, and the growth? And in that spiral of questioning and answering these questions and having this dialogue with myself, I have been able to understand myself more than anyone's teaching about how to know myself, because it is a lived experience that I live every day, every moment, creating my new story. Now, remember I talked about the women that we worked with. I talked about the children that we work with and the piece of wasteland that we were given when we asked the community to give us a piece of land to build the children's home. I say that society has given us a variety of wastelands, types of wastelands. It may be environmental or people, like the women living with HIV and AIDS that were discriminated against, stigmatized, or their children, or even the piece of land that the community gave us, which was literally a piece of wasteland. And our work has been about reclaiming these spaces, these wastelands. So I don't know what wasteland you have been gifted with in your life or in your work. It has been named by someone else, a piece of wasteland. When you look at it, you think it's unproductive because the normal way of looking at that thing is like, oh, it's rocky, there's no water, there are no plants, it's just stones. And that's the kind of evaluation that we also bring into people's lives. Oh, they have a terminal disease, oh, they are poor, or they're this and the other. And that's how we judge people. We don't look at the potential within them. And so our work has been about reclaiming these spaces. And reclaiming these places is not something that someone does for someone else. This is work that the so-called helpless and hopeless people have to do for themselves. My business is to hold a space for them to see who they really are and to be able to step into their wholeness. So I made Reclaim an acronym, and I thought about the work that I do and what I have learned. Remember, the learning, unlearning, relearning, and growing. This is what the work taught me. This is not a research that I sat down and studied books and did. This is life teaching me what needed to emerge. So the R stands for taking responsibility. Now remember, I'm working with women living with HIV and AIDS, children who don't have parents, and I'm saying we need to take responsibility. To take responsibility is creating awareness and understanding my circumstances and choosing to embody and own these circumstances. For as long as we bury our heads in the sand, we'll never quite figure out these circumstances. So we have to really create awareness, understand how this disease, this situation is working with my body or undoing my body, and what I can do to help my body get back its immune system power. So taking responsibility is creating awareness and understanding. It is being accountable also. The E stands for empoweredness. Empowerment is what someone does for you. Empoweredness is what you choose to do with that gift. And remember, a gift is not a gift until it is given and received. So you will give me education. What I choose to do with that education is empoweredness. And the way that that education is given is meant to be to enable someone to go through that new story dialogue cycle, to know who I am, to know what stops me, to create my own new story about how I want to transform the circumstances in my life. The C stands for courage. And courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is, in spite of the fear, I choose to step into my power. Someone said that the opposite of fear is not fearlessness, it is love. So here, courage is the courage to take responsibility, the courage to live my empoweredness. The L stands for love and light. I believe that everyone is born with divine love and light. What we haven't been taught is how to shine that love and light onto our own lives, because we've been taught that everything good we give away. Unless I know how to love myself and to shine divine light on my life, I cannot be that for someone else. So love and light is part of Reclaim that enables me to recognize myself as whole, pure, complete, and enough. Whole, pure, complete, and enough. When I know I am these things, then I can be the same for someone else. Love and light. The A stands for adjustiveness. I didn't choose adapting because adapting is what we do when we go somewhere and we adapt to what everyone else is doing and being. Adjustiveness is what a river does when it's flowing from the mountains to the ocean. The river comes across very many obstacles, rocks, big boulders, trees, everything. But a river never stops to have a conversation with a boulder, asking it to get out of its way. A river will chip away at the rock or find its way around the obstacle. I call that dancing with life. Dancing with life. We are called to dance with life, not to waste our time having conversations with boulders that are not going anywhere. Adjustiveness is about dancing with life. The I stands for intuition. Everyone is born with divine wisdom, intuition. We live in our heads thinking we are reasonable, logical beings. But the thoughts in our heads are just like clouds in the sky, blown in any direction by the wind. But the thought that we hold, anchor, and give meaning, that becomes our reality. Intuition is about balancing my crazy thoughts with divine wisdom. that comes from within me. Everyone is born with divine wisdom, our intuition, our gut knowing. And when we are silent and pay attention, it comes forth and informs our thinking. That balance is needed in your new story conversation. The M stands for mindfulness. Mindfulness is about being present in my life every moment. The best way I can explain mindfulness is when I ask a woman, what did you do today? They normally say, I did nothing. I say, wow, what time did you sleep and what time did you wake up? They slept at 1 a.m., woke up at 4 a.m. And I say, all these hours, you did nothing. So they start enumerating how they woke up, they cleaned the place, they made breakfast, they took the kids to school, they went to the shamba, they fetched firewood, they fetched water, they went to the women's group, they did a trillion things. And I say when we have all these things that we've lined up to do every day, we live in a silo, we live in a box. And as long as we're in this box, that's all that we're looking at to do and accomplish. You may be asking for support and it was given here, but because you're living in a box, you never saw it. Mindfulness is about being present to what I'm doing every day, why I am doing it. Being present, to be grateful to the things that I have been given, so that when bigger things come, I'll be present and ready to receive them. So reclaim, those are the tenets or the values that the work has taught me, and the tenets that we have used to transform amazing spaces. Women living with HIV and AIDS thinking that they're going to die any minute, and living 10, 15, 20 years to see their children complete university, get married, and they start having children. And reclaiming a piece of wasteland to become a haven of peace and love for children. Each one of us has the capability and the ability to transform whatever circumstances come into our lives through taking responsibility, embracing empoweredness, recognizing our courage, love and light, dancing with life, embracing our divine wisdom, and being present in our lives. Reclaim then brought to my awareness the importance of a holistic approach that I have called regeneration. And remember, I say that regeneration is embracing a way of being that brings learning, that enables me to respond, not react to my life henceforth, to respond. So with this mindset, reclaim mindset, I learned that we need to redefine terms. What stops us in those systems is because we have been taught certain ways of thinking and being. And those terms that stop us need to be redefined. If you tell me that because I am a woman born in Africa and I am black in color, that there are certain things that I can't do because of the color of my skin, that's a lie. Those are the kind of things like racism, tribalism, sexism, patriarchy, religious beliefs that stop certain people from being who they are. Those terms need to be redefined. We need to de-stereotype myths that we've been taught through these systems that have told us certain stories. We need to de-stereotype those myths and create a new story that is enabling us to, that enables us to reclaim these spaces. Always to have a positive mindset. Taking responsibility and empoweredness are embedded on the good. On the good. A positive mindset, recognizing that I'm whole, pure, complete, and enough at any moment. Love, not fear. The bedrock of the world systems is fear. Fear is implanted in people so that we do things because we're afraid of something, not because we are free. And so love is the bedrock of regeneration. To love ourselves so that we can be love for someone else. An authentic heart set. We do a lot of things in this life. The new story dialogue is also about getting us to the bottom of why we do the things that we do. Why do I do the things that I do? If you know you're doing these things for money or for a reputation or for whatever it is, own it. Because you know you can never lie to yourself and you can never lie to God. So an authentic heart set is that energy, positive energy that I bring to any situation. The positive energy that I bring to any situation. That when I work with a child, when I work with a woman, I don't have any other agenda other than regeneration for them. And owning whatever it is that this work is filling in my life or fulfilling in my life, because it's a calling. So it serves me in certain ways also. And I have to own that too. That's an authentic heart set. Being fully present to why I'm doing what I am doing, owning it, and bringing the good energy into this space. I don't work by creating or giving people resources so that they fail. And then I blame them. I say, oh, they can't do this. That is what systems have done, like racism. Everything about the American system, for example, and I'm sorry that you're having all these demonstrations and things like that, but that's an awakening moment. Actually, there's nothing to be sorry about. It is an awakening for people to see how systems that have privileged so many and have disadvantaged so many need to be broken down. So an authentic heart set is a recognition of those privileges, how I have benefited from these systems, and choosing to work to change them so that everybody can have a just or can live in a just system. A holistic approach, a regenerative approach also calls for service above self. Being in that space of I am serving and serving a cause bigger than myself. Service above self. And then I'm present to, I never do what I'm doing alone. The things that I've achieved in my life, I cannot say it's just myself. There are people I have worked with. The women themselves, the children themselves, they have given me an opportunity to work with them. And so we have co-created this amazingness that now we enjoy together. We are called to co-create with others. That means listening to each other, respecting other people's opinions, and together cooperating to co-create something amazing, something new together. And that is regeneration. This holistic approach is embedded in Utu. Utu is a Swahili word that means being human. I am because we are. So there is Hutu, Utu, being human, but there is how do I be human? How do I be human? So that humaneness is what I refer to as Utu. And when we create systems that are Utu or that are serving our not only being human but our humaneness, how we be that human, you'll find that they will be inclusive. It is about all of us. It is not just about some. It is about all of us. So this approach is inclusive and it recognizes our interconnectedness as human beings. Utu is about being fully human in community, or recognizing that I can never be fully human outside of my community. We are intricately linked, we are interconnected and interdependent. Mainstream systems teach us independence, but we are not independent, we are interdependent. I am because we are, and because we are, I am. Utu thus is also about never being alone. I'm fully human in community. I can never be alone. The main systems have taught us, the mainstream systems have taught us individualism. I, me, and myself. Utu teaches us wholeness. Who I am as a whole human being is never isolated. It is never separate. Separatedness brings isolation, and isolation brings depression, and depression brings death. There's a dying within that takes place when we are separate from each other. So we are never alone. And the beauty of Utu is we know we are known. There's a knowing that we know with. And even when we don't know, it's not a problem, because what I don't know, someone else knows. I don't have to know everything. It's a burden to know everything. So in Utu, I know I am known, so I'm never alone. And I know there's a knowing that I know with that someone else doesn't know. And that is what I bring to community. And even when I don't know, it is okay, because someone else knows and they bring that to the community. In Utu, I respond, not react to life. We react to life from the conditioning that we've gotten from the systems. So they've taught us certain things, how to discriminate against others, how to stereotype others. And so when someone says something or does something, we react. Utu teaches us responding to life, responding from that place of Utu, of wholeness, of completeness. That's where we respond to life from. And then there's no fear. Mainstream systems have taught us in this separating to be afraid of this person or this thing or the other. Utu teaches us love. That's the foundation of our humaneness, our Utu-ness. It is love, and that is all there is. Unconditional love. In mainstream being, there is fear in death, of death. You see that people wear black when they are burying people because we think death is dark, or I don't know. There's something not good about it. But really, everything has to come to an end. And for me, death is about letting go. Death is life's beginning, because where something ends, something new must begin. So the tragedy is not loss in death. The tragedy is what is dead within while we are alive, separated. And so what I've learned doing this work is that I have to be present to letting go. I have to be courageous enough to let certain things die so that new things are born. There's nothing dark about death. When I know that I will die anyway, one time or other, that for something new to be born, for a tree to grow or for a plant to grow, the seed must go underground and die. Then my calling is to learn how to let go and to embrace the beginning that this letting go, this death is going to bring. So really the tragedy is not in loss in death, it is what is dead within while I'm still alive. When we work holistically, regeneratively, you realize that we build community. We foster community and cultivate networks. Remember, we are never alone. We are fully human in community. I am because you are, and because you are, I am. So regenerative systems never separate. They always foster community and cultivate networks because we are never alone. There's an African saying that goes like this: if you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far, if you want to go far, walk with others. If you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to go far, walk with others. Fully human and community. Another thing I've learned about working the Utu way, the regenerative way, is that things ripple out. There are multiple levels of scale. Mainstream teaching has led us to believe that things are, linear. So, for example, educate a child and then scale it up. And then we forget all the context within which this child is doing this education. So when I talked about the child going to school and all those other aspects surrounding this child going to school, when we do interventions, they must ripple out in all the directions of those contextual elements that affect the education of that child. My intervention must touch the father, the drunken father, must touch the school, the community within which this child is living, his peers and his friends, and the church and the school. My intervention ripples out. It does not just scale up. It must touch the context, all the elements of the context within which this child is going to school or is doing his education. In Utu, a regenerative system or approach, we make space for self-organizing. We build teams. Because we are, remember I started by saying that our work is not about doing things for people. It's not about helping people. It's about holding a space so that people can step into their power. And so in building teams, that is the space that we are creating for someone to see that they can do it themselves. All I need to do is to hold a space for them, to allow them to see the resources that are available and that they can use them to transform their circumstances. Making space for self-organizing in teams. Utu also has taught me that challenges are opportunities. There are new possibilities calling to be invited in. When you got that rocky piece of land, I may have looked at that, I could have looked at those rocks and said, there's nothing that we can do here, and just walked away. And yet, dancing with those rocks has created an amazing space for kids to thrive, and for us to actually prove this model that challenges, the rocky or the rocks in our lives, are actually new possibilities calling to be invited in. They are opportunities. So when I look at an issue that is coming, or so-called problem that is coming at me, I no longer complain and say, asking, why is this thing happening? what I say, what I tell myself is, or the question that I ask myself is, what has this thing come to teach me? What is the opportunity that is, calling to be invited in? So challenges are opportunities, new possibilities calling to be invited in. In regeneration, transformation is a process. No child is born and they start walking the same day. And transformation is a process that takes presence, perseverance, persistence, and proaction. I call them the 4 P's: presence, perseverance, persistence, and proaction. Transformation is a process. And so when we work with those elements, Utu, regeneration, we bring a whole community of people to a place where they start seeing their world through a different lens, through a lens of possibility, of togetherness, of interconnectedness, of interdependence, of love, of amazing possibilities. And it's in that space that we're able to recreate our story, understand our story, and ask, so whose story shall be told by who? For until the lion learns to write, the story always glorifies the hunter. Whose story shall be told, and by who? For until the lion learns to write, the story always glorifies the hunter. Mainstream thinking has taught us to give up our power to someone else. And this conversation has been about reclaiming my voice, my agency, my power. When the roots are deep, there's no need to fear the wind. When I know who I am, when I know what stops me, when I've created my own new story, and I've chosen who I'm going to do the life dance with, when I choose to learn and learn, relearn, and grow, no wind of someone else's story will shake the rootedness, the groundedness that I've created through that knowing. When the roots are deep, there's no need to fear the wind. Grounded in who I know I am, my roots are deep, and there's no need to fear the wind. There's an African proverb that says that judge each day not by the harvest, but the seeds you plant. Seeds are very important because the majesty of the largest tree you will ever come across rests in the memory of the seed. So the seeds that we plant are very important. That's like regeneration. You're giving someone what it takes to plant their seed, to take care of it, and to weed for it, put manure, water it, mulch it, and take care of it to grow. That is regeneration. Nature is the best teacher of regeneration. And so, in our new story dialogue, we say, change makers do not get people to believe in them. They find ways to get people to believe in themselves. Mainstream development etiquette teaches us that we do things for people. We are helping people. A good leader does not stand in front of people to try and get them to see how big or important they are. Rather, they work with people to find the power within themselves. Change makers, leaders, regenerative interventions do not get people to believe in the systems or in the people who brought the systems. Rather, they find ways, these leaders find ways to get people to believe in themselves. Again, there's no one who is helpless and hopeless. There's no one who is marginalized, except we have created systems that have marginalized people. It's like calling people slaves, 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 instead of remembering that they were not slaves by choice, so they are enslaved. Or you call slave masters masters. They are not masters, they are enslavers. Those are the terms that we are talking about changing. The language, the naming of things that we have created that disempower people, and then we make them be that. So in the same vein, our education system that provides resources in certain schools and doesn't do the same for other schools, and then we create all these interventions to help the resource, the resource low schools. No, give them the resources that everybody else has been given and see what will happen. These are the systems that we're talking of changing, things that we've created, and we can see we have created that scenario, and then we create all these interventions to change, and then The resources that we bring are not enough. So people fail. We create interventions that cause other people to fail, then we blame them. Those are the systems that you're talking about here. That's the regeneration that we want to see happening. Ignite a fire in me, and let me take charge of my life. But also remove the obstacles and hindrances that have been put in place by the systems to stop me. Remove them, and you watch me. The biggest success for me in my regen being journey, as I call it, the biggest impact was when one of my kids once said to me, I may be an orphan, but I'm not the one who is dead. I may be an orphan, but I'm not the one who is dead. For this kid to get that, that's a line I could never have created or thought of myself. But for this to come from a beneficiary of our program, for me was like the largest, the biggest, the most amazing impact. Because that is what regeneration is about. It's about understanding one's situation. It's that reclaimed story, yeah? Reclaiming their own wasteland, understanding and creating awareness and owning and embodying this transformation. That is what it is about. So when we choose to work in the programs that we are working with, that is what we need to be thinking about. The igniting of a fire within a child, giving them the resources that they need, holding a space for them to step into their power. You know that a lot of times when, for example, in my working with women, when we say that, oh, you're helpless, you're a victim of this and you're a victim of the other, we misname situations because we say that they are victim of whatever circumstance that we've created. But they're really not victims. They are survivors, because if they are alive, they have overcome it. These kids that you're working with, who have gotten to where they've gotten to, within a system that has tried to stop them at every point of their way, they are not what we are calling them. We need to find the right word to call them, because they are winners. Yeah, they're not victims. They are winners in this system that we've created to stop them and stuff like that. So for me, when my kids said I may be an orphan, but I'm not the one who is dead, that was like, yes. I want them to start naming, renaming their circumstances and owning who they are becoming. Not from what I say they are, but from who they say they are, from their new story, from their new story. So these are the outcomes for our work. And up there you can see I have said regeneration is igniting a fire rather than a pile of results. Igniting a fire so that someone can be motivated, can be inspired to really reach their highest self. And the impact of empoweredness for me is new ways of being, the new story life. And so in our work, we have had students who dropped out of school for various reasons, and they came and did a skills training program with us. And now they've started their own businesses in catering, in hairdressing, in tailoring, in weaving and jewelry making. Whatever it is that they learned, they did take it and make it mean something for them. So you're seeing these so-called school dropouts take a course like tailoring and they start a business, or hairdressing. And you have a student who finished a bachelor's degree and has lived for 5 years in his or her parents' house saying that they can't get a job. Education, which is the education here. 5 years looking for a job, or a skill that enables you to create a job. That's the difference. And creating new initiatives of giving back. So we have our kids who've created programs like Synergy Youth Kenya by Evans. Naomi has created Ubuntu Voices. Robert has created Naledi. They're all leaders in their own community, but they're also inspiring other young people to step into the leader in them, giving back. And so what this work has taught me is that hope is neither what we seek in evidence nor what we are in action. Rather, it is who we become in being, standing shoulder to shoulder with another. My bumper sticker is my kids. I am awake. I am becoming. My role is to hold a space for them to awaken, to become whoever they choose to become. Your role is to hold a space and to provide everything that is needed for a kid to step into their highest self. No one is helpless. No one is hopeless. No one is a victim. When we bring the love, the light, when we bring Utu into our beingness, we open up spaces where everybody may thrive. Thank you for listening.